You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borg. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon, welcome back. Today is Friday, 16th day of May, 2025. Thanks so much for joining us, whoever you are, wherever you are. We're just glad to have you right here, right now. Apologize that I was out yesterday, but by the grace of God, I'm here today. I don't know what next week holds for me, but every day I can, I'll be here. So anyway, let's get going. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first broadcast, that's our live training room. Now that's reserved for members only and those who are taking their 1-week free trial. If you have not yet taken your 1-week free trial, go here to mytradingiq.com. At the top of the page, there's a big purple button. You can't miss it. Click it, fill out the form, submit it. We'll get your indicators up and indicating today. You'll have the weekend to get accustomed to them, and then your trial will officially start Monday morning and run through all of next week. There's no credit card required. We want you focused not on money, but on what's being taught. We want you to learn the process so that at the end of the 5 consecutive trading days, you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to whether or not trading is right for you. Now, when the live training room ends each day, we take a 30-minute break and come back for this broadcast, the noon broadcast, which, unlike the morning broadcast, this one is open to the public. Everybody everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. Now, there's 2 different ways you can join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, you only have to do it once. Go to mytradingiq.com and scroll down the page to where it says Noon Broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What happens going forward is every trading day you'll get an email about an hour before the broadcast starts. In the email, there's a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, all you have to do is click the link in the email, and it'll automatically log you into our platform. The benefit of doing it that way is you have access to the question box, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there will be days when you're out of the office, away from the desktop, maybe on vacation, but you'd still like to join live. Or some days you'll be busy and can't join live, but you want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel. Now it's easy to remember, youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network. But you don't have to remember all that. Just youtube.com/CFRN. Now, if you're new to the world of CFRN, It's a great way to get to know who we really are. Thanks to the power of YouTube, you can scroll back 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more. Because as we broadcast live each day on our YouTube channel, we also archive it. Currently, there's over 2,800 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. Now, obviously, you're not going to watch them all, nor do you need to. But it's a great resource to have at your fingertips, and it lets you know we've been around a minute. youtube.com/CFRN. This is our schedule for each afternoon broadcast, so we're going to just dive right in to our daily devotional. We got a couple more days left on this topic after the cross. We did Holy Week, we did Easter, and now for 2 weeks we're doing after the cross. Today's scripture, Luke 10, verses 30 through 32, and I'm sharing with you from the Message translation. Jesus answered by telling a story. There was once a man traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho. On the way, he was attacked by robbers. They took his clothes, beat him up, and went off, leaving him half dead. Luckily, a priest was on his way down the same road. But when he saw him, he angled across to the other side of the road. Then a Levite, religious man, showed up. He also avoided the injured man. Again, that was Luke 10, verses 30 through 32. Now, this verse is from one of the most often cited stories that Jesus told in the Bible, the story of the Good Samaritan. Two supposedly God-following people, a priest and a Levite, saw a dying man and did not help him. But the Samaritan, culturally the man's enemy, did stop to help. But there's a phrase in Jesus' telling of the story that's key in both of the religious leaders' actions. They both saw the man as they were walking and passed by on the other side. It's the same language for what both men did. Both men responded the same way. They did their best to put the injured man out of the path of their lives. And that's key. Yes, it is true that the church is to spread the love and truth of Jesus to the world. But it can be overwhelming to assume that it's your job to change the world. The wording in this passage is key. Just seek to bring Jesus' love to the folks in your path. Your Father put you where you are to be a representative where you are. It is true that God put the nations in the hearts of some people, but He didn't do that for a lot of us. And every single one of us is called to bring His love to life with our own lives. Our closest circle is our family, then our friends, our church, and then, yes, the world. But first, it's the people in your path. If someone's in your path, be like the Good Samaritan. God has chosen you for such a time as this. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, forgive us for the times that we've passed by those in need. Open our eyes to see the hurting and soften our hearts to respond with compassion. Make us more like you, willing to stop, serve, and love without hesitation. It's in the merciful name of Jesus that we believe and pray. And everybody said, Amen. Amen, and happy Friday. Everybody's been working for the weekend, and now it's here. What you going to do with it? Maybe you're just going to take it easy. It's been an odd week in the markets, that is for sure. But let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Currently the Dow up 53 points. The NASDAQ up 21. S&P 500 up 13. And the Russell 2000 up 6. Pretty quiet, pretty shallow, but they're green. And in the commodity basket, crude oil up 89 cents, trading 62.51 last. That's a gain of 1.5%, or $880 per contract traded. Gold down $37. That's well over 1%. Silver down 31 cents, trading 32.35 last. That's a drop of just over 1%. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei was down just shy of 2 points. The Shanghai fell 13. The Hang Seng dropped 108. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 50, the DAX up 53, the CAC up 33. So we had a red day in Asia. It was a green day for the UK. And so far, it is a green Radio Friday here in the US of A. So, it's shallow. I think this surge we've experienced over the course of the week, well, what is it? How does it go? For every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. Yeah, it looks like this thing's running out of steam. But, hey, what do I know? We'll just have to wait till the Sunday night open and see where we go from there. In the news, what do we got? Birthright citizenship. The Supreme Court appeared undecided yesterday on whether lower courts can implement nationwide rather than more limited injunctions on presidential orders. The case stems from President Donald Trump's January executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship, which has been blocked nationwide by 3 federal lower court judges. Birthright citizenship offers full legal rights to anyone born in the U.S., regardless of immigration status. It has been the legal precedent in the U.S. since the passage of the 14th Amendment in 1868. The administration argues this practice does not include children born to parents in the country without legal status, and claims it incentivizes unauthorized migration. Critics of the administration say overturning the practice would create a second-class group of non-citizens in the U.S. The justices debated whether universal injunctions, whose use by lower courts has increased significantly in the last decade, could be replaced by class action lawsuits, which require more stringent review. A decision hopefully will come sometime this summer. I mean, what's the point of even having a president if everything he does, some lower court judge that was not elected by the people, They were appointed. They can overrule the President of the United States of America, who was elected by a majority of Americans. In what universe does that even make sense? Anyway, a rare original Magna Carta from 1300 has been identified in Harvard Law School's archives. Purchased in 1946 for just $27.50, which is about $480 today. It was misfiled for decades and long mistaken for a replica. The sheepskin parchment is now confirmed as one of only 7 known surviving originals, issued by King Edward I that year. British historians discovered its significance after encountering a high-resolution digital image online. They then used ultraviolet light and spectral imaging to compare the physical text to verify its authenticity. They believe the document was first sent to the parliamentary borough of Appleby in Westmoreland, England, and later purchased by London book dealers from a Royal Air Force war hero before being sold to Harvard. First signed in 1215 by King John, the Magna Carta established the principle that no one, not even a monarch, is above the law. History repeating itself? The 1300 version, known as a confirmation of the charters, reaffirmed those rights and helped lay the foundation for constitutional law, including the U.S. Constitution. So, again, if no one's above the law, how is it that these lower court judges can strike down a duly elected president's executive order or other proclamations? The Supreme Court has a very huge task on their hands. Now, this benefits not only Republicans, but Democrats as well. Because, let's face it, everybody knows who I am, and I'm very happy to see all 3 of the branches, the House, the Senate, and the executive branch, the White House, on my side of the street. But at some point, and I don't think it's going to be the next election, but at some point, Democrats will take back the government. Okay? And so the Supreme Court judges have to think really long and hard on this one. Okay? Because it doesn't just affect what's happening to President Trump, but it affects what's going to happen to future presidents, no matter what side of the aisle they live on. All right. Charter Communications said on Friday that it would buy privately held rival Cox Communications for $21.9 billion, uniting 2 of the largest U.S. cable and broadband operators as they battle streaming giants and mobile carriers for customers. Now, monopolies are not allowed in the U.S., or it's hard to determine in some cases what's a monopoly and what isn't. I currently use Cox Communications business service for my internet. And I have a pretty good deal, and I've got blazing fast speeds. I just hope Charter coming in is not going to screw the whole thing up. American media companies are considering options for their once lucrative cable TV businesses that are now in decline as millions of consumers pivot to streamers such as Netflix. The merger, one of the biggest deals of the year globally, will help Charter better bundle broadband and mobile services as it tries to keep customers from switching to wireless providers such as T-Mobile that have their own internet plans. We'll see if this passes the antitrust sniff test. From Bloomberg, oil bounced between small gains and losses as Iran cast fresh doubts on the status of nuclear talks with the U.S. Brent traded below 65 a barrel before jumping as much as 1.1% earlier after Iran's foreign minister said he saw many opposing and contradictory positions from U.S. negotiators. West Texas Intermediate edged up near 62 bucks. Well, my plan for Iran to wipe it out, but that's not very Christian, so I won't say that. Also from Bloomberg, in a week that saw an epic rally in U.S. stocks and recession calls cast aside, currency traders are just as bearish as ever on the American dollar. Strategists at J.P. Morgan Chase and Deutsche Bank say the currency will keep weakening, and sentiment among option traders is the most negative in 5 years. The dollar index is still close to its April lows, evidence that investors are wary of returning despite the easing of China trade tensions that lifted other markets. And U.S. consumer sentiment slumped further in May, while one-year inflation expectations surged as households remained concerned about the economic impact of President Donald Trump's aggressive and often, not my words, friends, erratic trade policy. Yeah. The University of Michigan survey of consumers on Friday. Now, this is where they put a bunch of college kids in a room, and everybody's got a little table and a phone, and they just simply call people up randomly. How do you feel? What do you think about the economy? Now, the way they phrase the question can certainly sway the way the person answers. Now, this number that we got today, that's based on May. But a whole lot has happened in April. President Trump has traveled the world, and he's bringing home the bacon. Promises made, promises kept. So I suspect that the U.S. consumer sentiment is going to surprise to the upside when the reading comes out next month, unless they monkey with the numbers. Everybody that I talk to, and I realize I live in a pretty small world, but everybody I know is excited about what's happening in the economy. Prices really are coming down. And all of this money that's being infused by these other countries, these investments into America, to build plants and factories and create hundreds of thousands of jobs, it just hasn't shown up on the register yet. I think this time next month that those numbers are going to come in a lot different. And last, President Trump's trip to the Middle East this week freely mixed business and diplomacy as he came across over 60 CEOs and executives during his whirlwind trip from Saudi Arabia to Qatar to the United Arab Emirates. Many big names appeared during an early stop at the royal court of Saudi Arabia that had at least 19 top CEOs from the U.S. in attendance. From OpenAI's Sam Altman to NVIDIA's Jensen Huang to Citigroup's Jane Fraser. Another wave of CEOs joined at the end of the trip, with an array seeing Trump Friday at a U.S.-UAE Business Council breakfast. As he prepared to return to Washington, Trump touted the investments to reporters and then claimed of the companies they're doing work that wouldn't have been available to them except for November 5th. Yeah, he's touting his own election. That's okay. These CEO visits were nonstop as the president tried to capitalize on a wave of enthusiasm around artificial intelligence in the region. He also encouraged all types of investments in both the U.S. and the Middle East while pushing the ethical boundaries of his own business dealings. The focus on AI was particularly striking, with Trump mingling with AI executives to open his travels and then wrapping things up yesterday, with the groundbreaking of an AI campus in Abu Dhabi. The trip was also an opportunity to re-emphasize the influence of Elon Musk, who again appeared by Trump's side at multiple stops. There was a lot of big names. Reid Hoffman was even there. All right, turning to the local news. As everyone knows, I didn't put out any alerts yesterday. But this will probably be the final recap for the week, unless, I don't know, the markets are so quiet today. I don't know if any of this will change, but we're in week 354. Over the last 354 weeks, we've issued over 19,600 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on market structure. A simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Valerie did the recap this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. So at the time she did the recap, and I don't intend to issue any additional ones today. When she did the recap this morning, since the markets opened this past Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we issued a total of 50 alerts, one never triggered, and at the time she did the recap, we were still waiting on the outcome of 6. So that gave us 43 actionable alerts, of which 3 or 7% would have been stopped out, again based on market structure and a simple process we teach all passport holders. Every logic alert has an entry price, an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day, and then quite often additional targets, sometimes quite a few. And then there's a final trade to target for each alert. Now, yes, you can trade them, but that's not the real purpose of the logic alerts. The true purpose is to help you learn how to read a chart. All you got to do is, even if it's a market you don't trade, bring up that chart, bring up that logic alert, and then start drawing some horizontal lines at the entry point, at the initial target, the additional targets, okay? And you'll quickly, well, I don't know how quickly, but eventually, everybody's different, you'll see and understand what I mean when I say market structure, okay? And in learning market structure, you learn to read the charts. You want to be able to look at any chart of any market and instinctively know what the next high probability move is. Now, based on 354 weeks and over 19,600 alerts, doing our best work, we know that about 20% of the time or less, the market is going to just surprisingly do something other than the next high probability thing. You can't change it. There's nothing to fix. It's just the nature of the beast. It's how markets work. So don't waste time and treasure chasing these holy grails that promise you'll never get stopped out again. The only way to never get stopped out again is to not use a stop. Then you'll just blow up your account. So, I mean, so far a good week, by the grace of God. Long before there was a Logic 247, we had the concierge trade alerts. And I'm going to find them. Here they are. Now, these were issued, I didn't issue any last night. So we're running a day behind, but I'll show it to you on the charts. These are the alerts that went out Wednesday night. I wasn't able to put any out last night. But all of our members and all of our trial members had all of these targets 5 minutes before the market opened. S&P 500 E-mini, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. Now there's both a long and a short target for each one of those, because nobody, I don't care what they say on their website or in their sexy emails, nobody knows what the market is going to do next with complete certainty. Okay. But if you can narrow it down to, only being off 20% of the time or less, that's about as good as it's going to get. So, anyway, here's where we are from the daily perspective of the S&P 500. We're in a downtrend, leg, retracement, leg, retracement, leg, retracement, leg, retracement. Now you notice the pullback holds more often than it doesn't, whether it's pulling down from above or pulling up from below. Right here, when this daily candle closed below the BBC, that was the beginning of this downtrend, which goes all the way back to February 20th. And this candle right here on April 24th was the beginning of what looks like to be, we're back in an uptrend. We can't really solidify that until we take out this area here and the all-time historic high, which was put in on December 6th. Now we've had a leg and a shallow retracement, and then there was the last Sunday night gap, and then we had a doji in there, and now see how the step line crossed? Typically when the step line crosses, price reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. It's called the BBC. Okay, step line crosses from the left side to the right side. Once it gets on the right side, you're going to probably go back to the BBC. Okay, down here, what happened? Price pulled up to the BBC. We are long overdue, but because I know from personal experience that price always reverts to the mean, it's only a matter of when and time. I think next week might. Now you say, wow, price is way up here, and you're saying price is going way down here. That's just a blip on the screen in the grand scheme of things. So, I mean, what's the low today? Or what's the high today? 59.58. And down here we're at 57.01. That's pretty substantial. But remember, markets do fall faster than they rise, because for price to rise takes financial commitment. For price to fall, all that has to happen is the institutional traders, the deep pockets that move price, they just hit pause on the buy side, and price naturally deteriorates. To keep this thing up in the air requires financial commitment. And while we see how small these candles are, and look over here on the downside, we got some big candles. And we got a big one here. So the question is, leg, retrace, leg, retrace, leg, retrace, leg. We really, the first step of knowing is if we get a pull back to the BBC and it holds and gives us another leg that takes out this high, and this high, and eventually this high, then we can say we're back to an uptrend. Now, there's nothing unusual about this. This is normal. This is how markets work. Going this long without a retracement to the BBC, a little unusual. Okay, I mean, we had quite a drop here before we finally pulled back. Okay, so anyway, I think we're headed higher unless we start to break down. Oh, that hurts. Don't laugh. Okay, no more laughter. All right. Now over here, this is today, Friday. The vertical lines separate today, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. Wednesday on the live broadcast, I drew in this window of opportunity during the broadcast, basing it off the wick on this candle, and it filled beautifully. Okay. So then when the markets opened Wednesday night, see, this was last night's open right there. We came down and we filled the window again. That's not unusual. Support sends the market to resistance, back to support, and then we dipped below. And that low. You see this area right here? Now, it may not be as meaningful to you as it is to me because I've been studying and staring at these things for 20 years. Okay. But that's a prime spot for the market to find some support. Me putting the short target here was just me being conservative, as I typically am. So red and falling turns to blue and climbing. We get back above the VBC, and we make a run and we hit the long target. As we traded through the long target, when price pulled back, look where it found support. Right at the top of that long target. Don't we see this at least in one market every day? I think more. But anyway, that's what happened on the ES Thursday. And this is Friday. Now we've overcome red and falling. We pulled back to the VBC, the pullback held, we overcame red and falling. If we take out this high, we may go higher today. I don't know. The Dow, I drew this window on the 14th. And everywhere always says, well, Dwayne, how far left do you have to look? I had to look all the way back to the 12th. Now I did this live in real time on the broadcast, so you can go and you can watch the broadcast from, see, I drew it, I think I drew it on this day, because it was yesterday that we finally came down, and no, it was this day I think that I drew it, and then we came down and filled it. Look at that. Look at the check. That's crazy. Then we dropped a little lower. Red and falling turned to blue and climbing. We got back above the VBC. And we made a run right up to the long target. So off the open, we had the short target. Remember, everyone on this night had these targets 5 minutes ahead of the Globex open. And so here's where we opened last night. We pulled back, but not far enough to get to the VBC. That's a sign of strength. Red turned to blue. Up we go. Now we had gotten below the highest weekly zone on the Dow. But now here we are back above it again. I'm telling you, in relation to the weekly trading zones, which we've published now for 15.5 years, every week for our traders, they come out 6:15 a.m. Monday morning. And once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. When we did get below the highest zone, and now we're back above it. We surpassed the highest zone on the Sunday night open in many markets. Yeah, not on the Dow, but on the ES, I think we did. All these messages. Hang on, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right, Russell. We had drawn this window in back on, I guess, Wednesday. And it partially filled here. So you might end up getting stopped out on that. But this one did fill the window just fine. Market found resistance. If you go look left, you'll see why. Support sends us to resistance, which sends us back to support, which sends us back to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, and then going into the close, we hit the long target. Took a while, but finally got there. All right, on the NQ. Here's today. Look at how flat that is. That's wild. It's going to make for some very narrow zones next week, I'll tell you that. Hold on for me 1 second, please. Oh, man. Okay, NQ. So these targets came out 5 minutes ahead of the open, which was this candle right here. See, this is the closing candle. This is the opening candle, 6 p.m. Eastern. So we roll sideways, just consolidating. We dropped to the short target, got a little bit below it. Red and falling turned to blue and climbing, pushed us back up to the long target. We got a retracement to the BVC, and now look at today. This is going to be a nightmare Sunday night. God, I hope some news event or something happens today to get some movement out of these markets. But got to deal with the hand you're dealt. You got to play with the hand you're dealt. All right. This is where we opened on this day. This is Friday. This is Thursday. We dropped down to the short target, through the target, and even through the zone. Now, one of three things happen when price encounters a weekly zone. 70% of the times consolidation, 20% of the times rejection, and 10% of the time is the slice. So we sliced through the zone on a 30-minute chart like it wasn't even there, but when it ran out of steam, we retraced right back to the zone we sliced through, and then continued in the direction of the slice. Found support, got a little bounce, and then just some more wide-ranging consolidation right there. Down to this zone, support and a bounce, and then down to here. Go look left, find the reason for your support. Red turns to blue, leg retracement, and today we ran up and hit that zone. Now these are the zones that were published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, and here they are on Friday still doing their job. When price moves up to a zone, we expect resistance till proven otherwise. When price drops to a zone, we expect support till proven otherwise. And this thing looks like it wants to keep going. Gold. Now, we opened last night, dropped to the BVC, consolidated, and then kept dropping. Price always reverts to the mean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles. The pullback held. We got another leg. And on this pullback, we didn't quite make it to the BVC. That's a sign of weakness. And That's not an exact spot I would have expected. Now, if you look here, where the bullish cross is, that's when the blue line gets above the green line. When you have a bullish cross, it leads to an extended move. The first time price revisits that area will almost always be good support. So if you, now I include the wicks, but in this instance, if I had not included the wicks, but I do, but I'm just showing you, you see the bottom of the bodies of these two candles, they line up directly with the bullish cross. So we just simply overshot it, and now we're pulling back up to the VBC, and we got blue and climbing, so there's a chance that we will overcome the VBC. The pullback held, the pullback held, the pullback's held so far, but with blue and climbing chasing price, we just might trade through. Now the day for these targets, here's where we opened. We had blue and climbing below us, support, the VBC above, resistance. We bounced up to the VBC, resistance. That sent us down to the short target, through the short target, all the way to the weekly trading zone, where we found support. Red and falling turned to blue and climbing. And then yesterday, gold went on an absolute rampage. Goodness gracious. 31, what was the low? 31, let's call it 31.25. 31.25 to 32.55. I don't know, call it, it's about $12,500 per contract traded, if I'm thinking right. Okay. And now today we've given back about 62% of it, or more. Silver. On the last day that I put out the targets, this was the open. We were above blue and climbing. Popped up to resistance. That sent us down. Yeah, we're pretty much at the target here. It's 32.25. The low of this candle was 32.26. It's a penny, and it matters because it only takes 2 pennies to get your goal for the day. Red turned to blue, and off we go. Leg and retracement and a leg. Now yesterday we didn't hit that target, but when the markets opened last night, we did. And now down we go. We get a bearish cross. That's when the red line gets below the green line. Okay, so we've had a bearish cross that leads to an extended move. So as silver looks poised to potentially rally, this is a very important area right here. You should expect resistance there, at least the first time up. Okay? Alright. So that covers all the markets. And I know Michael's waiting on me to get to silver before he came on, but he is coming on. He's going to be here in just a few minutes. So sit tight. Don't go anywhere. I'll message him and let him know that I'm done. So you probably got time to run to the bathroom, get a drink of water, something. But Michael will be here. He'll do a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning, and then do some live trading on the TradingView platform, okay? All right, so sit tight. He'll be here in just a few minutes.
All right. Dwayne
Hey,
is
buddy.
text. Oh,
Yep.
you are here.
Yeah,
Okay, you're here.
I'm here. I was waiting for you, so make sure because I have to center your charts for the people that are watching on YouTube. So,
Okay. Then let me take it over here really quick. And then I will just wrap it up when I'm done if you want.
well, my plan is to be here just to wrap things up and play the disclaimer and all that. But
Okay.
if I happen not to be here, you can just shut it down.
All right.
Okay.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you very much.
Here we go. All right.
And everything looks good.
Good. Excellent. Thank you. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Friday, the 16th day of May, 2025. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us and you need to, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button right here. You want to, sorry, need to. Oh, want. Hang on, let me update this because that's a new one. Here we go. And this was from last night's meeting. Get rid of that. That was also from the meeting. If you have not taken a free trial and you want to, go here and click on the purple button. When you do, it's going to bring you to this registration page, right? This covers you for next week. All right, yeah, this covers you for next week. So on this page, all we ask for is your first name, your last name, your email, your phone number. Down here at the bottom, make sure you give us your TradingView login ID. All right, if you don't have one of those, click on this link right here. It'll take you to some other page, this page. Watch this video and make sure you get that login ID for us, okay? You can click on this link right here to go get a deal, whatever the current deal is. Click on monthly. The essential is enough for anybody who's just starting out. All right, if you want to have 4 charts like I do in the room, the plus will be good for that. Okay, you don't need to go to the premium. Most normal people don't need to go to the premium, right? It's 8 charts per tab, that's true, but you're paying more for other things, like being able to create your own indicators and being able to have launch different things and stuff like that. You don't need to do, right? Usually the essential of the plus is going to be plenty. All right, spreadsheet. We had a pretty good day today. Not banner day, but pretty good. It's half of yesterday, but twice of the day before yesterday. So we're just going to roll with it. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 16th day of May, 2025. We had 103 ticks on the NQ, 17 ticks on Russell, 17 ticks on gold, and 20 ticks on the ES. That put us $1,020 a contract this morning. Today it took 5 minutes and 2 trades to get to $1,000. We took a total of 21 trades this morning. So on the month, we are currently at $11,972. That's over 11 business days. $1,088 per contract per 2-hour business. Let me just count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, good. Okay. So on the year now, we've gone 83 out of 83 days getting the goal. We've now gone 99 consecutive trading days since our last non-green day, and 492 consecutive trading days since our last red day in the room. So that's over 2 years now. On the year now, we're at $131,790 over 83 business days, averaging $1,587 per contract per 2-hour business day. If you were to quit trading, following the 24/20 blueprint, quit trading when you get the goal for the day. So far this year, you would have only had to work 10.61 hours, and you would be on your 5th contract because you're in the 5th month. You would have made $39,072 so far, and you would be averaging $3,680 per hour. Okay, $3,680 per hour. All right, now we are now going to get into the actual trades. All right, we didn't have that many trades. They're spread out pretty evenly across the market, so we'll just go from left to right. All right, starting out with the gold. Here we have it. Our trades on gold. What did we end up with on gold today? Just 17 ticks. Okay, let me crunch this up. We did have a stop out in here somewhere. All right, well, we started out here on gold with a break even right there. That was an aggressive break even. Then we picked up 5 ticks there. And then the next trade that we took, wherever it was, in here somewhere we stopped out. I didn't write in the stop out, but we stopped out and we went to -10. Okay, and then we didn't trade again until all the way over here. We picked up 20 ticks there, and that got us to +10. Then we had 6 ticks there on aggressive short, got us to 16, and 1 tick right there, got us to 17. And that is where we ended it for the morning session. Now, during the break, just a quick glance at what I can see here during the break, and it looks like this was a really nice looking trade. This didn't pull back deep enough. This pulled back too far, but based on what you had right here, there to there, what you had right there, on the up close right here would have been 100% of that leg length right there. That would have been an okay trade to take, not the greatest, because that last one showed a little strength by not pulling back too deep, but then this going all the way down to here showed a little weakness. This right here was really nice though, because you see this move up here, pulled back, right there is where you wanted to enter, right? Without drawing the lines on it, I'll just draw the lines on here like this. Okay, this is where you would have wanted it to be, like that. Okay, if I use this, nah, that's not gonna work. Remove that. Anyway, when it came here, we would have been looking for it to, well, you would have had to pull from up here on this. All right, so you'd been looking for a retracement right into here for an entry. It went right through that, so you would have been looking at 100% spot right here. So you could have shorted right here off the 100% spot on the down close right there. All right, what I mean by that is this right here is where you would have been drawing from, right, like that. And it went right through the midpoint right there. You know, you couldn't have taken an aggressive trade because it was right here when it went into the overbought. But then it kept going and kept going. It went up to the 100% retracement up here, you know, right up to that level right there. So coming down off of that, you could have taken a short right here and gotten that move down right there. There weren't really any other good trades in there that were worth taking. Okay, then it spun around, and at that point, you would have been looking at you would have had to draw up from the bottom. Okay, so the bottom then becomes here to here. So you're looking at the same point for trading right there in the retracement. All right, so there was not any really good trades in there either. But that was what it looks like today on the gold. We ended up with plus 17 ticks on gold. All right, and let's see, that was it on the gold. The Russell was the next one. Okay, on the Russell, this is our whole day on the Russell right here. We picked up 20 ticks on the first trade, then 10 ticks on the next trade. This is where we got the goal for the day on this Russell trade right here is where we got the goal for the day. Picked up 10 ticks on the next trade to get us to 30, then 12 ticks on the trade after that to get us to 42. And then we stopped out on that one, put us down to 17 on the Russell, and that is where we ended it on the Russell. This trade here took forever. It came within 1 tick of getting my stop to break even right there, but it didn't hit it. Then it pulled back, stopped me out, and then it went up and did what it should have done. This right here was a great opportunity to take an aggressive long trade right here when it pulled back. I did do that at the end of the session. I didn't count it toward the total, but this, I told you, anytime you get an opportunity to take an aggressive trade when it's right exactly at the midpoint like that, I will do that. And I did right there, and I picked up 10 ticks on that, but I didn't get to count it toward the total. That was the Russell today. Okay, the ES today. Let's look at this. Slide this all the way over here. All right. On the ES, we had our very first trade here was a break even. All right. And here we had an aggressive long trade for 2 ticks. And then a regular short trade there for 8 ticks to get us to 10. Then a break even and another break even. Then another trade there to get us up to 18. and a trade right there to get us 2 more ticks up to 20. And that is where we ended it with the ES. Now, on the ES, just look at the trade setups that occurred here on the ES. When you're above the YBR, you're drawing away from the YBR, okay? So like right here, you would draw up to here, looking for your retracement. You would draw up to here and it would be all the way over to here. So it'd be from here to here is what you'd be looking for. And your retracement level, in that case, would be right about here, right? The midpoint would be right about there. If I were to draw it for you, it'd go like this. From there to there, right? Where it went out of the overbought and back into the overbought, the high and low in between there. This was the only one that actually hit the 50% retracement back here, all right? Nothing else hit the 50% retracement. After it came out of the oversold here, it didn't go anywhere. You couldn't take this coming out of the oversold. And then it went into the overbought, came back down. I wouldn't take that being so close to the swing high, because that didn't make it into the overbought. I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't take that. But that did go up into the overbought. So the next opportunity was this one here that actually came down and hit the 50% mark right there. That's the trade that I would have taken right there. Okay. So the first one over here would not have worked out. And then this one right here would have been the next one that was a really decent trade to take in there. Okay. Let me bring up the question box and see if anybody has any questions. Why is the last Russell kind of red? It looks like it should be green. You were talking about the Russell there. Let's go back here. You're talking about this. These are just based on up and down close. These colors are, oh, the Russell. Okay, this in here. This has a paint bar on it. Travis, if I take the paint bar off, I think it's inside here. Right? No, it's inside here. If I take the paint bar off, then you can see what the colors are. Okay, there's a paint bar inside the trigger that I have on. But back here to the ES. This right here was a pretty good retracement of this leg right here. Right. Sadly, it didn't go into the oversold and give you a trade. But the way you would have looked at it was like this. Okay, like that. So right there would have been a good spot for an entry if it would have hit the oversold, but it didn't. So now what you're looking at is actually from there up to here is what you're looking at now. All right. So on this bar, I'd want to down close, and then the next bar also, and then the next bar after that, and up close is the way that I want this to work out to be able to take a trade. The video that I made today, Jim, is, let me show you where it is. Here it is. Out in Telegram, it's in TIQ videos. All right, I'll give you the link to that. Right. If I go to invite links and copy link, done. Cancel. All right, this is a public room, so anybody can get into it. I'll put the link right here, and I'll stick it in the other box too. Okay, there is the link to that, and I'll put it in the other one so it's clickable in the other one. Okay. Again, that was called TIQ videos. TIQ videos, right? See, a few people joined it this morning. A bunch of people joined it this past week since people knew about it. A bunch of people have been joining it. But that's the one that I created this morning, right? The one that I created a couple of days ago was silent. I didn't actually listen to this, but okay, that does have audio. Okay, so that's much better. The TIQ videos. Well, this is just a public channel, so anybody can go into there. Travis. Okay, so whether you're TIQ or TV trades, you can go in there. Okay. We made that public. It's just things that I do in the morning. And some other things that are, like how to move break even with the Sierra Dom, how to cancel 1 to 2 working orders with the Sierra Dom, just things that are relevant to stuff that happens in the morning, some trades that I actually took and stuff like that. Okay. You go in there and check that out if you want to. Anybody can watch that if you want. See, Jim just joined. Jim was the one who asked about it. and he just joined. All right, so we did not get what I wanted over here. I mean, you could have taken the trade here conservatively if you wanted to. I wouldn't do an aggressive trade here, but you could take the trade conservatively where it came out of the oversold right here. You could have done that if you wanted to, but now that it's putting in a higher swing, we're going to have a new spot to draw this from, right? It's going to be like that now. Okay. Well, it'll be like this, actually, wherever the high ends up over here. But that was the yes today, right? That was the yes. So the NQ is the only one we have left. And these are pretty much all the trades are on the NQ, I think, right? No, I guess we had a couple more. All right, so our first trade on the NQ was this morning. We picked up 75 ticks on that one. Then the one right after it, we picked up 4 ticks. Then I was saying it should retrace to here and bounce off it. It should have retraced up to here and bounced off, but it didn't. Just kept going. I was saying it should retrace to here and bounce off, and it went through it and then ended up bouncing off it, and that worked out well. So where we are right now, we're above the YBR, so you're going to draw away from the YBR, okay? From the last time it came out of the oversold right here. Wow. Yeah, okay, so you would have drawn from the time before that to that time. So you would have drawn from here to here to give you your lines, right? From there to there to give you your lines. And then it pulled back into here and it went into the overbought. So you'd be looking for another opportunity to draw. It's kind of messy in here. You want to let it get a higher swing in place here, then come down and get into the oversold. It's messy right here. But the way we traded the NQ today, let's go back to the beginning. We picked up 75 there, then we picked up 4 there to get us to 79, then we picked up a break even and 4 there to get us to 83, and then finally we got 20 ticks there to get us to 103. And that is where we ended it with the NQ. Now the way this is coming together here is much more conducive to figuring out the lines, right? Because you go from the low after this to the high after that. That's what you go for. Okay. Travis, are you doing both, or are you just doing the TIQ stuff? I don't remember. Anyway, that's what you have right now. All right, so we'd be looking for a pullback down to here. So this could happen. If we got a down close on this bar and we get a down close on the next bar, it would be in the perfect spot to have an aggressive long trade. Okay. Okay. Okay, because there's really cool stuff with everything, really. And so that's what we're looking for here. We want this bar would be great. If we got a down close on this bar and on the next bar, would be right there at the 50% mark. That'd be a perfect spot to take an aggressive long trade. Okay. So let me explain that. We're in the overbought down here. It takes 2 bars to get from overbought to oversold. So if we close down on this, it's going to bring us right to about here. If it closes down on the next one, it'll put it sold. If we go into the oversold at the same time that we hit the midpoint, that's the trade that I said last night in the partners meeting that I would take every time. All right. That is a really high probability trade when it gets down there and it does that at the same time. A lot of times there's like no pullback, something like this right in here, you know, where there's no pullback. Okay, this was almost the same exact thing right here. You drew this from here to here, right? The first bar closed down right there. The next bar closed right there. You just buy the open of the next bar right there. Bang. That's almost the same thing is what's happening here right now. Almost. All right, so let's slide this over here. It looks like it could give us an up close. If it gives an up close, then it's going to change things a little bit. This ended up stretching out all the way up to there. This is nothing. I'm going to remove that. The Russell is nothing. I'm going to remove that. And on the gold, we don't really have anything there. We could have something here on the gold. now. Okay, we could now have something. You're drawing from here down to the bottom. So we could have a similar thing here on the gold. If we get an up close on this and an up close on the next one, be the same thing, just a short. The same thing that I was looking for over here on the long side, we could have here on the short side. So let's get ready for that on the gold. Okay. If we get an up close on this bar, the high is 9.1, so that would be up here at 90.1. I have a limit order right there to sell that. If we get an up close right there, that's going to be an aggressive short from the midpoint, right? So this is a limit order. It's not a buy stop limit. It's just a regular limit order to sell it if price pulls back up to there. You see that? We don't typically use those anymore. Now we're usually just waiting until it comes out of the oversold or out of the overbought, and we have our orders on ahead of time. This is another way to put the order on ahead of time, but now it's a limit order instead of a buy stop limit. Okay, now it's going to be over right there. Okay, and now it's going to go right there. Okay, so if we get an up close on this, it's going to be right here at the midpoint, and we're going to go into the overbought. So I want to sell it aggressively if that happens. Okay. Now, if it closes down, it's going to change the look of things here, and it looks like it might. I don't know. We'll wait it out, see what happens. But you see what the difference is, right? There it is. We just got the up close, and I should have actually shorted right there, but I'm going to let it fill me there. Okay, it just filled me. All right, so now that's an aggressive short here at the midpoint. I must have not had my order right in the exact spot there, but this is an aggressive short here at the midpoint where it went into the overbought. This is the trade that I said last night I would take every time, and I'm happy to take it right here. Now 5 ticks in profit. It's got to get down to 0.3 right here. 0.3, and I'll bump the stop to break even, right? This has a 15 tick stop on it. So my stop is going to be up here, right here, right? But it should push all the way down here to 88.1. Down here is where it should go down to, right there. Okay. So if I bring this up to where it should go, and I just manage it from here. We got one of the down closes over here. We need another down close over here on the NQ. The ES is not going to be in the right place here to take an aggressive trade because we're already in the oversold. So it's going to have to go flat here and then come out of the oversold. So what would be better here is a down close on this and a down close on the next bar and an up close on the bar after that. All right, so we'd end up with a flat spot 2 bars wide down here and then pop out of the oversold. That's not what it's doing, but that would have been the best case scenario. So what it's done right here now, it's actually presenting you with an opportunity right now to take an aggressive short, an aggressive long trade, the S is. Okay, we need 5 ticks in profit on this to get the stop to break even. It's got to get down to right here. The yellow needs to get right there to 9.3. Okay. Keep an eye on it. The yellow needs to get there, not the white. There it goes. Stop to break even. And now I'm going to lock in the 5 ticks. So I have 5 ticks in profit with 10 contracts on this, $500, and it just took me out with the $500. Now it should get down here to the 88.1. But you see how simple of a trade that was, right? Over here on the ES, it's the opposite direction right now. Okay, so to be aggressive on the ES, what you would do is look for a down close of this bar. Now let me do this always on top. The high of this bar is right here at 63, so I'd be buying 61, a limit order at 61. Okay, now the midpoint is right there at 60.75, so that's 1 tick above it. That's fine. Oh, wait a minute, I'm going to cancel this. That's wrong. I just did that wrong. Sorry, we're already in the oversold. That wouldn't be a good place to buy that. What I would really rather have here, sorry, I'm glad I looked at that again. What I would really rather have here is a down close on this bar. Now that we're already in the oversold, if it was going into the oversold on that bar, that would have been what I'd do. Because it's already in the oversold. So what I want is a down close on this bar to get it down there. See, I wanted it to go sideways down there before it came out. This isn't a great spot for an entry. It'll probably work out, but it's not a great spot for an entry. What I think is probably going to happen is you're going to have a lower high right here, maybe. I don't know about that, but I didn't end up taking that trade. The NQ didn't do what we wanted to do either. The Russell didn't do anything either. So the gold was the only one that we could do just the way I wanted to. Okay. It's a lot of words. Tired of talking. And I feel like, what did we end up with on the week this week? 5 days. We had some slow days this week. Our lowest day of the last 3 months was this week. But so what did that end up giving us all week? It was 975 plus 450 plus 1175 plus 2070 plus 1020. $5,690 per contract. That's still a good week. If you can do that with one contract every week of every year, every week of the year, that's $250,000, right? $5,000 a week. And if you do it with 10 contracts, it's even more. But that's where we are in the week. Let's get back in here and see if anything else developed yet. Nothing yet. You see this ES is really getting messed up now because it didn't go into the overbought right here. This is what I was talking about. I had a feeling it was going to give you a lower high right here. I look at the ES in a little bit bigger picture here, and I suspect, no, it's not actually showing what I thought it was going to show. This is a longer leg length than the last one. This pullback is about the same as the last one, maybe just a little bit bigger. But I was looking for the weakness, like it showed right here. That's what I was looking for. All right, so the gold did eventually get down to the prior swing low, the 88.1. That's where I had that target, if you remember right. Yes, before taxes. True. True. There's something I watched last night. It's something I saw. I don't remember what the heck it was, but they give you 30% in losses while you're actually making 16% overall. So you could deduct the 30% in losses. It wasn't trading futures or anything like that. It was some other kind of thing. I don't know. It is not something I am going to mess with. Obviously, I don't want to upset that apple cart any more than I already have. All right. So I'm waiting. It's 1:27. We got about 2.5 minutes left. I don't know that we're going to end up with anything else here. I decided on the job box for Jake. I went out and measured my truck because we have the same truck. And I measured my truck. I'm glad I did that because
good choice, I think.
Yeah. Well, I looked at the other thing, and it's not the same as when I did it. They do have a thing. I did the Rusty Walls experience where you paid for a number of laps. Mm-hmm. So I got to drive 18 laps. And I went 3 laps with a professional driver. And then I drove 18 laps by myself. Mm-hmm. And they do it timed now. So for the same amount of money that it costs, well, Jada bought it for me, but I think about the same amount of money before, that it cost me to do 18 laps. They now give you 5 minutes. So that's like 2 laps driving by yourself.
Oh, wow. And again, that box for the truck, that's something he'll use every day. And,
it is.
And even if he gets a new truck someday, and those things are so sturdy, it'll probably, hopefully it would fit in his new truck, but I mean.
Yeah. Now I'm getting in one that's good because we both have the same truck, and inside the back of the Rams, they have like the little wheel well thing. So it's going to fit in between there. So it's going to be the 48-inch box. So that'll fit in pretty much any truck.
Gotcha.
The Fords, the Chevys, I think the Chevys they don't have the wheel well thing inside the body, so so you can get the 60-inch box for those. But yeah, it's his 20th B-Day, John. And what's he doing? He's doing mobile mechanic business, really. He's brakes is what he's primarily doing. He'll go to your house and change brakes for you. And that is a real hassle for people when they got to bring their car in to get their brakes done. And Jake
how
can
does
do
he
it.
advertise on Craigslist?
Well, he hasn't done any advertising yet, but now it's just word of mouth. But he's already got some work,
Well, that's good.
and he ought to be able to make a couple grand a week doing that part time. And he and Noah are both doing it. So Noah, they work separate hours. Jake works all week, and Noah only works on weekends. So Jake can work the weekends, and Noah can work during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And since it's Jake's tools and Jake's truck, they have sort of an agreement right now, starting out. So, but yeah, he could. It's not hard to change brakes if you know how to do it. I can change brakes, in an hour on any one of the vehicles that we have. I can change the brakes. Putting the tires back on takes another 15 or 20 minutes, but I can get the brakes done pretty quickly. Usually I can get them done pretty quickly as long as I have all the right parts.
Yeah, those big tires are heavy.
They are. But the easiest thing to do is just put the whole thing up on jack stands, and then you only have to jack it up twice. Jack up the front from the middle, put it on jack stands. Jack up the back from the middle, put it on jack stands. And so he knows all this stuff. And he's doing that while he's welding. So he's still got his whole welding job that he's doing. And he just got a raise in that job. So
and he's got youth on his side.
Yes, he does. He's only 21. He'll be 21 on Sunday.
Wow. We'll give him my best and wish him a happy birthday for him.
I will. I gotta figure out what else we're gonna do for him. But I know Jada's gonna make him this truffle berry fruit cake. It's this big giant thing of fruit and stuff, and he eats the whole thing at once. It's like enough for 3 people for a week, and he'll eat the whole thing at once. But anyway,
the Claxton fruit cake, they've been around since forever. And the same package, same box. And we always joked that they only ever made 1,000 of them, and people just keep regifting them because nobody actually likes to eat them. But I'm sure the ones you made taste good.
Yeah, this thing's custom, and she's got to hand make the whipped cream and all that stuff too, because he complains. She made him once where she didn't hand make it. She used like Cool Whip, and he did not like that at all. So she's gonna hand make the whipped cream and all that stuff. Whip it,
whip it good,
make it all real. So it'll be a big meal for him on Sunday. Anyway, it is time to wrap it up, guys. So today, if you're going to do the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures in the bottom. Today we're up 103 ticks on the NQ, 17 on the Russell, 17 on gold, and 20 on the ES. Which is $1,020 on the day. Today it took 5 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $1,000 with 10 contracts on. On the month, we're up $11,972, so averaging $1,088 per day. On the year, we're up $131,790. Again, this is all with one contract, averaging $1,587 per contract per day. If you've not taken the free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There is no credit card required for the trial. Click on that purple button, and it's going to bring you to this registration page. Just fill it out, and down at the bottom, make sure you give us your TradingView login ID. Okay, we cannot get your indicators indicating if you do not give us that. Hit the register button, and we'll know you did it all. All right, that is it. With that, I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, and Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne is ready.
Yep. And recap of the morning session.
Today, it took 5 minutes and 2 trades to get to $1,000 with 10 contracts on.
Good job.
Thank you. Very
All
much.
right, guys, we've covered all the markets, and it's really a kind of a slow, sideways kind of Friday. So I guess we can only hope for some kind of good, positive news over the weekend that would move the markets Sunday night. But anyway, let's wrap it up with our good word for the day, and then you can go do your weekend. And today's good word for the day. The kids are watching you. It's not just kids, but I'm telling you, you can talk to people till you're blue in the face about how you should do this or why you should do that, or you know, whether it's spiritual, it's financial, whatever it could be, relational. It goes in one ear and out the other. But they're not hearing you, but they're watching you, and they see everything. Now, if they see you live your life the way you talk about living your life, if they actually see it, now you've got their attention. So anyway, Ephesians 5:1. Therefore be imitators of God as beloved children. American author Susan Alexander Yates offers us scriptural guidelines for influencing our kids. If you're not a parent, then you can use these points to help you have a positive influence on the children in your family or in your community or church. Number 1, reach out to non-Christians. If you want kids to grow in faith, expose them to people who need faith. God called us to be salt and light in Matthew 5:13. But that won't happen if you spend all your free time with fellow believers. Plus, kids are more likely to reach out to others when they see faith modeled at home. Now, I know this can be a touchy subject, but I've had kids talk to me about this, how, their dad in particular, sometimes the mom, they're one person at church, but as soon as they get home, all hell breaks loose. Don't fall into that trap. That's straight from the enemy, and it's life's life's not easy. But if we do what we know we should do when we know we should do it, then life can be simple. Befriend someone who's not a believer, like a neighbor, a coworker, a teacher, or coach, or even your hairstylist. Reaching out can feel scary, but when you risk it, God will work through you in exciting ways. Number 1 was reaching out to non-Christians. Number 2, model gratitude. No one enjoys a whiny kid, including God. And when we appreciate him, it delights his heart. Children learn from their parents. They pick up on your attitude. Your mood fills the atmosphere of your home, and if you whine, they're more likely to become complainers themselves. When you dwell on the negative, they learn to focus on what's lacking in their life. And number 3, make time for your spouse. We get busy with kids and jobs and church activities, and we think we will spend time with our spouse when things finally calm down. But here's the rub, bub. They never calm down. People spend their entire lifetime. Life is full of hills and valleys, hills and valleys. When you're in a valley, you got to believe with all your heart that a mountaintop experience is coming. And when that mountaintop experience comes, that's your opportunity to gain more spiritual fortitude so that the next valley you go through won't be so painful. lying in a hospital bed when you're hooked to one of these things that monitors you, that you're alive, you're whatever it is. You notice they got those little lines that go up and down and up and down, and last thing in the world is you want for that thing to flat line. And pretty soon you hear them calling for code blue, and yeah. In fact, now everybody knows this is the Christian Financial Network. But in Buddhism, as in with many different religions, we suffer needlessly if we can accept life on life's terms and deal. Let me try to phrase it another way. I've known some very wealthy people who are incredibly miserable. They could buy anything they want, anytime they want, but there's a hole in their soul. And I've met people who only own the shirt on their back, and they were some of the happiest, joy-filled people I've ever met. I speak specifically about the continent of Africa. You've heard the term dirt poor, but unless you've been there, you can't even begin to comprehend what dirt poor really means. So the reason we get unhappy, the reason we get sad, the reason we get mad is we often forget that we're not fighting flesh and blood in this world, but principalities and powers in the heavenly realm. So when the store clerk or somebody at work doesn't do things the way you think they should do, or they're, it's a heavenly battle. Okay. Let me just go back to this. We were talking about making time for your spouse. Don't let the weeds of so-called important things choke your relationship. Nurture it. Look for ways to bring you and your spouse closer. Start a weekly date. Your kids' security is based on knowing you love them, and it soars when they know that you love each other. It's so important. I mean, if your mom and dad are whooping and shouting and hollering and jumping up and down in church, filled with the Spirit, and then come home and by Tuesday they're slapping you around, saying, how could you be so stupid? How did you do this? Why did you do that? Now you're in trouble again. They're watching you. It may seem like they're not listening, but trust me, they're watching you. He who fathers a wise son will be glad in him. Proverbs 23:24. You are raising the next generation, and they need to know a happy marriage takes time and work. Both parties got to show up every day and do their best. And I'll add one more thing. If you will put the wants, needs, and desires ahead of your spouse's, if you'll put your spouse's wants, needs, and desires above your own, and vice versa, you will live happily ever after. Again, I'll say it, you're raising the next generation. And this includes you grandparents too. They need to know that a happy marriage takes time, it takes effort. And that's part one. We'll do part two on Monday, God willing. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.